Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. Today on the call we have Tracy from Lamourie Media. Tracy, would you like to tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Hi there, thank you. My name is Tracy Lamourie, Lamourie Media, and I'm the founder and managing director of that company. We are an international PR and marketing firm, publicity firm, working across industries to elevate and celebrate the voices of people doing interesting and important things, basically.
That sounds like a worthy thing to do, or a worthy way to spend your time.
Right? I'm lucky, I'm honored every day. I mean, somehow I built this career where that's what I get to do. Choose messaging that I actually care about as an advocate and a small business person myself, and help those people amplify that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the sort of category that you would, how you would define your role is public relations. I'm very interested in the topic, and if that's the case, how would you define the term public relations?
It's funny that you say that because I was actually saying I think as publicists we need a new word because I was on a podcast yesterday and somebody said, normally we wouldn't have a publicist on PR, like kind of the negative connotation. You see, but we were really struck by your work and the death row work and all. They could see that I was actually an advocate and an activist. But their first thought when they heard PR was, spin, like correcting a negative in the public mind, right? And so that's part of it too. But what I see in publicity and PR to me as I do it is, as I said, elevating important voices, shining a spotlight on voices of people doing good things. So I choose not to work for countries, for politicians running countries or for major corporations, because that would decrease, the control I have over the message, and actually always being genuine and always wanting to support and elevate things that I actually believe in. So I'm lucky that I've been able to create this life where I am able to choose from clients who are doing good things and bring that into the world. So basically what publicity and PR is, public relations, is getting things in front of the public eye so people, and I guess, controlling the way people see it is what it would be in a political sense. But in the terms of what we do, ethical, just bringing things to the world, it's more a matter of just, shining a simple light on what people are doing so the world knows about it.
So I certainly wouldn't have that lens of viewing it. The way I thought of it was someone who has contacts in the news media, and you have
Well,
your
that's
client.
community, exactly. That's what I say it really is contacts and communication. But some people here, like we're used to seeing publicists speaking for politicians or as the communications person before the president comes out and says whatever crazy thing he might say. So that's what a lot of people think of as PR. And that's not the case in terms of the way I do it. And what not just me, but I mean what that's why I was saying we need a new word other than publicist. I think we need another word for that. So like elevator, light shiner, or actually that the politician said yesterday, or the podcaster mentioned that champion is a good word, not champion the way we use it now in terms of sports stars where they're the celebrity, but in terms of being a champion for somebody, a champion for a cause, a champion for an issue, the person that gets out there and explains it. So that's a way to look at it too. I like that one better.
So just so people have an idea of what you do, what does a typical day look like for you, work related?
Work related, yeah. So basically, every day I'm looking for, there's the one side which is, people understand about writing and reaching out to media, like writing press releases and writing strategies and communications about my clients. The other part of it is just having your pulse on the media world and knowing what's coming before it comes out. So there's all kinds of services, just like we met on a pod match service. There's all kinds of services where mainstream newspapers, mainstream television, mainstream magazines, everything from Oprah.com to the list, to Reader's Digest, to Good Housekeeping, when they're looking for every day when they're doing articles and they're assigned articles, they look for sources to speak in those articles. So whenever you read a magazine and they're like, Bob in South Dakota who has a truck and 2 kids, how did they find Bob? Well, they have this call outs. Hey, we're looking for somebody with a deadline of tomorrow who can speak to, real estate in South Dakota, or a million different things. And so there's opportunities every day, and you just need to get into the pipeline and kind of think about yourself as somebody who can be quoted. I think a lot of times people think about the people that are on TV as somebody else, or the people that are getting awards as those other people, and we're just doing our jobs, and but the trick is really to understand that, you're as much of an expert in your field as the people that you see on television. The only difference is they told the media about what they're doing. So what I do is find ways to shine light on my clients. So I look for every day, I look for, potential awards for them. I look for media opportunities that are incoming. I strategize about media opportunities that we could find for them. Yeah, no day is the same. Every day is different. And that's partly because I literally work, across industries and across countries. And I could be executive producing a television show one day, and the next day I'm doing 8 hours at my desk just sending out emails. So there's literally no 2 days are the same in PR, and that's kind of what I like. It's no such thing as getting bored.
It sounds like you are a professional connector of people. So like you just connect one person with another and it's beneficial for both of them. Would you say
That's
that's
a huge
accurate?
part. Yeah, pretty much what it is, I guess, in a lot of different ways, because it's connecting the media with the source. And then also, it's funny that you said that, because I say the longer I do PR, the easier it gets in some ways. Because sometimes it's just as easy as, oh, you do that? Hold on, let me make a call. And, you connect that person with that person. And like you said, it's suddenly magic for both of them. You've
Mm.
done like some incredible connection, whether it's media or a deal, or just from knowing a lot of people. And of course, in PR, working across industries and across countries, it feels like there's nobody I don't know. Like, that game 6 Degrees of Separation. I
Kevin
think
Bacon.
every time we've tried it, it's literally like maybe 1.5 degrees. It doesn't mean I can get all those people on the phone, like call up whoever, but it honestly is that close to like everybody I can think of through something, through it, and everybody is reachable. There's nobody on this planet that if you have the right reason that you can't reach. I mean, everybody is doing, I don't care how famous they are, or everybody's doing business, everybody's interested in projects. Right now, everybody's sitting at home in COVID looking at these same screens, wondering what's going to come tomorrow, no matter who you are. So this is actually a good time to connect and network, and, not be afraid to get yourself out there and find those different avenues. Since we don't have the avenues that existed in 2019, hopefully they'll come back. We have to take advantage of the avenues that we have right now, and new ones have sprouted up. Like I've done, you know, dozens of major international podcasts speaking about business leadership, speaking about entrepreneurship, speaking about, mindset and business, and also, of course, about how to get media attention and elevate yourself to the top of any industry using media. Because I can't travel and go do all these things right now. So I'm speaking about it internationally, educating people, finding avenues, to elevate my own brand, but also in every conversation I have with every podcast or with every media, that's, like you said, more contacts that I can then bring back to the table with my clients, and more, opportunities for them. And yeah, so that's how it all works. Meet people, do things.
Good. So if you had an ideal client, like I don't know whether you've heard of the term customer avatar, but if you got to choose exactly who it was that was your client, who would they be? Or who's an example of who they might be?
I have just so similar to a lot of the clients I have right now, which are, I call them world changers, whether men or women, but people with, a lot of them are authors, a lot of them are, but, some of them are just people who have interesting ideas or a passion to speak out about them. So it comes down to, my ideal client isn't the millionaire or the billionaire or the big coin this or that. It's literally the person who comes from the same place as I do, which is a heart-centered place that they have a message, and they, in addition to making money or doing whatever the thing, they actually have a mission. And I like to elevate that and help, do what most people can't do, because my role is opening that door that most people can't figure out how to open. They just don't know it. It feels like magic to them. How did you get in Good Housekeeping? How did you get in Rita's Death? Well, there are actual ways, and so because I know these things and I have that knowledge and that skill, I love being able to bring that to people who don't, when they're doing amazing things, when there's things that the world needs to hear about. That's what I want to get behind. That's what excites me. I got into PR, literally I never knew what a publicist was. I wasn't thinking about that. It was about messaging to help a person who ultimately we were able to help. And then I learned through all those years of doing that I had created these marketable skills. And so part of the lesson I like to say when I'm on business centered podcasts is, not everybody has that story, but we all have a passion. We all have something we really like, we really care about. We wouldn't hate our lives if we went and did something to do with that every day. Instead, everyone's going to this 9 to 5 and everybody just hates their job and can't wait till Monday's over and Friday's over. But the secret of life really is find something. I know it sounds trite, but like even if you're a sports guy, maybe you can't do sports, you're not an athlete, but you love it. There's things in that world. There's a million things in that world that you probably haven't even thought of, that you may have skills, that would fit that because you love it and because we don't always look at the other part of our lives. We think our business lives sometimes when we're in a 9 to 5, and then we have our real lives. But I learned, and I was lucky enough to have one bleed into the other, and then have that aha moment that, geez, I can literally have created marketable skills that when I wasn't even trying to. And now I can monetize that and ultimately create this crazy life that I love, that in a career that everybody else is now. Oh my God, publicist! That's the kind of when they want someone to look cool on TV, they make them a publicist, which is hilarious. Like it's that kind of a cachet job. Doctor, lawyer, publicist. But yeah, I literally just came to it from trying, using somehow the skills that I figured out that I had to help other people who weren't as powerful or as good in their, you know, communications, weren't as skilled in their communications, because communication is everything. I read somewhere, I think with Psychology Today, they say even beyond math, beyond all those other skills, the most important skill in life for success is to be able to communicate. And I think that's true in personal life and business life. And
So would you say, I picked up on a couple of examples that you said, would you say it's more about philanthropy or business, or a mix of both of them?
for me,
Yeah.
so not so much philanthropy in terms of like donating money or whatever, but I literally learned how to write a press release. Like I literally learned how to write a press release to let the world know about an innocent man who was on death row, who's since been released, and after 20-year campaign that we did. So in terms of why I'm sitting here, why I'm a publicist, that came 100% from advocacy and activism. It wasn't until 15 years after I was literally 15 years after I wrote my first press release, 15 years after we'd been on CNN, CBC, MSNBC, all this stuff for advocacy work, that I was sitting there in my marketing job one day and I suddenly went, wait a minute. I'm an extremely effective communicator. I think they call that a publicist, and that's a skill that you can, like I had done that for 15 years for, messaging, just for messaging, while I was going every day to work, getting paid for sales job, So it was 15 years into all that I thought, wait a minute. So then now it's a business. Now is absolutely a business, and I'm growing it, and I'm now 50 years old, not a 20-year-old activist. I'm using these skills to, we scaled up this year. We incorporated. We're going to be looking to be job creators. We're doing all kinds of stuff like that now. So now it's about making money, but I'm never going to lose the reason I got here. I'm never going to be more thrilled at a big contract than I am at an amazing message that comes in with it. That's still what excites me. So we're a business that's here to, we're here to make money and do the business world thing now. But at the same time, I speak about, and I don't think those two have to be mutually exclusive. And I actually think, and I speak on, the more successful you get. So the more you use my skills to get your platform to make your $1 million or whatever, now what? What is that success? Your $1 million? Or now that you have that platform, should you be using that? And that's of course what I counsel. You have a platform. Now what do you care about? You need to be using it for good, whether it's for your community, for a cause you care about, for whatever. So it's all of it. Like now I'm 50 years old. Before I would have said, oh, it's all about activism, and now I would say it's about both, because I'm old enough to realize that if I had the money 20 years ago when I was doing all that activism, I would have been able to do a whole lot more. Because look what I did with nothing. When I was an activist, half people wouldn't listen to because I didn't have money. There are people that only care when you have money, So now I say both, but I'm never going to lose that passion, which was about changing the world. And I still love my clients that I call world changers. But now I'm 50 years old and I understand business and I understand, I'm a mother of two and I understand, it's important to create wealth and that way you can do more stuff too. So now money, but my father told me when I was 30, he literally said before I was 30, and I agreed with him on the spot, and I still do now. He said, and we weren't even thinking business at the time, so we didn't have a business. But he said, if you spend as much time building a business as you do with all this, justice and prisoner stuff, you'd be a millionaire by now. And I was like, you're right, because I realized he was seeing how skilled we were, how savvy we were, how, you know what I mean, how everything we did got successful, but it was to help. It wasn't about money. So now I'm using those same skills and turboing it and internationally and showing people what I can do. And, because now it's time to build my business, make some money, create a business legacy, create some jobs, spread that knowledge, while still keeping it an absolutely ethical, moral place that we started from that I would never want to destroy. So
I certainly like the job creation part of what we do. It's the most rewarding part of it, I would say.
and that's I'm just new jumping into that now. For the last 5 years, it's always been our own business, like just us. And I didn't even know how to, like now I've got a business consultant. We don't know what we don't know. Just like people don't know PR when they're in business and they don't even think about it. I'm so good at what I was doing, but I wasn't paying attention to my back end in terms of, all the pricing and all the business stuff. And all. So now I've got a business consultant that fixes all that stuff up for me. And so now I think, oh, okay, now I'm starting to see how I can bring money in, more money than I need. Before it was like a job, I was bringing in enough money. I owned a job basically, you know what I mean? Enough money to pay me, but I didn't see how to translate that into enough because I can always get more contracts. That's not a problem. But I only have one me. So I
Mm.
didn't know how to get other me's, other people that I could trust where I could, be confident to take on more work that I could do than I could do myself and then have to allocate it, So now I'm getting myself into that headspace, which is a whole different thing than being an entrepreneur, right? The whole being a boss. So
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing that I, learning to navigate.
Have you read the E-Myth yet?
The what? No.
It's very good if you're focusing on that specific topic. So it's going from a owner operator to someone who's going to create jobs and
What I need
systems.
exactly. Email that to me if you could. That's right the stage I'm at now. That's my mission too. I think that's going to be learning to do good in the world in a different kind of way that I've never thought about before, right?
Mm.
Because you're right, that's world changing. If I can create someone's career, someone's like, it's helping someone it's creating their life really. Like I want to not only create jobs, but I want to create other me's, like I don't mind training people to do what I do. I can't be the publicist for everybody in the world. And I work internationally. So, I mean, even if I had 5 other amazing publicists, here in my city, and they were trying to cut my grass and we were fighting for whatever, that's fine. There's a whole world, So I would rather create more people like me doing what I'm doing because I think it's good for businesses. It's good for, and from this perspective of wanting to do it ethically, because I think that's, like we talked about the outside people, a lot of people still think of PR as, like spin.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll say something, I'll be like, that ain't no PR spin. I never have PR spin, but I mean, like sometimes I'll say something really, really awesome, like I'll be telling a client how amazing they are, and I'm genuinely, like I'm saying that, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm like, no, that's not PR spin. So spin is a word. I don't do it. I present information in the most, bite-sized, easy to comprehend, like convincing way, right? But it's always truthful stuff. It's always stuff that I believe in, and I won't take on a contract that I don't, you know
Mm.
to me, like I'm too good. I joke about it, but it's true. I joke that I'm too good at what I do to take on something I don't believe in, because then I'll convince people of it, and that won't be good. So like, you can give me all the money in the world, I can't work for the other side because, you know, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think we're on the
Whatever
same
the other
page.
side might be, like if it's, I'm just saying that the bad guys.
Yeah. Well, in preparation for our conversation, I did a little bit of research into PR, and one of the things which uh, continually came up was being newsworthy. Do you think that's particularly important to do something which is worthy of news?
Well, see, that's all. It's about. I mean, obviously, okay. So this is where you get into. You can't. The difference between editorial and advertorial. Editorial means there is a story there that the news person would look at and be like, okay, that's something I should tell my audience about. Advertorial is go to the news department. There's no story. Don't even bother. So I say there's always a story, because a story doesn't have to be something. It depends who. It may not always be a headline news story. It may not always be a story that's going to be in your 22-minute news broadcast, but there's always a story. Maybe it's a lifestyle story. Maybe it's so it depends what the story is and where it can be. But the story might be why you're doing what you're doing. If we're talking, brands and entrepreneurs, why you're doing what you're doing, what's different about you, but be careful, that's not on the advertorial lines. It gets to be the actual story, or your personal background, like what, literally why, you as the expert. Um, and because I find, like, people don't hire me when they have a story to tell necessarily. Like, hey, I have this coming up, and like they hire me like experts across the board. I'm an expert in whatever. Hire me, make it happen. So, and I don't just have, people that are doing quote unquote newsworthy things. Like, if you look at my current client list, I have a panaya, like, other than the celebrities and the, authors and the TV people and all that, because I have all those too, about 40% of my list. But other than that, my clients are a podiatrist, uh, um, um, a medical person, a psychologist, a diversity expert, a luxury real estate agent, someone who's founded a brand, a mortgage guy, um, a SEO and marketing expert. So none of those people, when I say that, do you think, oh, big news, right? But they all have something to say, either about something that goes on in the news. So if there's something called topical press release, which is, say you're with your friends and you just turn around to your friend because you see something in the news, and based on your expertise, you're like, oh, look at that blah blah blah. Well, that blah 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 might be because that's your response to an ongoing news story based on your expertise. That could be the germ of a story right there. If it's going to be something that media is going to continue to talk about, like, for example, COVID, which is, or something else, they've mentioned, they're going to mention again, and you have a different perspective on it. That
Mm.
doesn't mean you're doing something newsworthy, but you have a different perspective based on your expertise that is credible. So that's where you can write a topical press release. Here's what Thomas Green, the marketing expert in ethical marketing, says about that story where that person did this and blah, blah, blah. And then, they go, oh, that's an interesting point. And then you get in the news talking about that as an expert. And then, so the other part of it is, people often think, like, if you're selling, okay, like I'm selling juice boxes. So this is what I'm trying to find media opportunities for the juice box. Well, there's going to be really small media opportunities for your juice box, maybe 10% of media, there might be something, but there's going to be a lot of media opportunities for you, the expert, who knows about juice boxes. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
So now you think about, what can I say as an expert that would get me into media? Not like, hey, look at the new and improved juice box, but what's going on in the juice box industry that I don't know about, that people don't know about, that might be of interest. So you find the story there. So it's not a story in terms of a big, see what I'm saying? A big thing's happening. So you have to be the center. Because if that was the case, then no entrepreneurs are really going to be in the news, other than unless they're doing something amazing and they have, that's really not most people. Most of the news cycle just needs experts at different times, experts to speak about different things. So, yes, obviously, if you're doing some big exciting thing, then you are the news, but that's a pretty high bar. Most of the time, it's more a matter of you being the expert talking about the news, or finding, you know, ways to insert yourself into stories that are already going to exist, which is with the Harrow service is similar to Podmatch and you're already going to be doing podcasts. It's a matter of who's going to be the guest, and just so you reach out and you have these things to find the guest. Mainstream media does the same thing.
Hmm.
So it's more a matter of expertise than hot news right now. Like, that's the most obvious, but it's more a matter of, and that's where the strategy comes in, right? And why people have a publicist instead of just saying, hey, here I am, I do this. Publicists can find those opportunities and find those, ways to frame you as the story, even if you're not necessarily doing a big thing.
And would you say that's important because it basically builds your reputation? And through building that reputation, then you are able to acquire more business for your juice box business.
1,000%. Like even someone said to me yesterday, I'm a real estate agent, why would, like in Toronto, how's it going to benefit me if I get this, if you get me this article in Authority magazine in the States, which is doing a big thing about meet the rising, women leaders in real estate. Perfect example. Well, so the people who foresee it, they may not be your jet because she needs a local audience, or local buyers, right? So people who originally see that article may not be her local buyers. But number one, that's got amazing SEO. So later when people search her name, that's going to come up. So how would people, when people decide to choose one real estate agent, just as an example, over another, why would, when they see something like that, that's thought leadership. That's, what do they call it? Social proof. That's other, the world say, instead of an ad is when you say, hey, I'm the best agent in the world. Look what I do and look at all the houses I sell. Every single agent says it on their website. Every single agent looks exactly the same. If you have two agents both saying that, but one of them has been featured in this magazine as, the top, as rising star in real estate, and has been featured on 3 international podcasts, and has written an essay and whatever, and the other one is just selling houses locally, who do you think looks more like they know what they're doing? And who is more likely to get that stardust and that buyer? So it's all about, that's why people are working so hard now, calling themselves thought leaders and everything else. We have more and more platforms now to speak out, from podcasts to writing to opportunities to mainstream media, so that if you're not doing that, if you're just sitting there not thinking about that and doing your job really well, but the guy next to you is maybe doing his job half as well, but he's taking the time to go out and talk to media about it or whatever, the perception from the public is that he's the guy. He's way better than you. He knows what he's doing. And that's unfortunate, but that's the world we're on now. We have
Mm.
so many different platforms. I mean, unless you just have your 10 customers and that's all you need and that's fine, and then you don't want any more, and you're not, you know what I mean? But if you're in the business of, if you need to attract more. So PR is not marketing. Like, it doesn't directly relate to, you did this ad in this market, so you got 10 people who saw it and bought your product. It's more like, that's why we charge, monthly and not on a percentage, because I'm not selling you a direct sale where you're like, okay, I'm placing this ad in this little area, and then if anybody in that area responds, we know it came from that. No, we're building up the excitement about you and your brand on an international level.
Mm.
So it's less quantifiable. Like, what I was joking. So that, if you wanted to pay me a percentage, the only way you can do that is pay me a percentage of your whole company, right? Like, because I've elevated you, I've built your brand. Like, so we don't just get media opportunity for clients. Like you said, we find awards for them. We find, like, we get them in the mix. We can't get them the awards, obviously, but we get them in the mix because the people that get the awards are the ones that know about them.
Yeah. You can't be
Right?
nominated for an award if no one knows
100%.
about
I
you.
know because the first time I was nominated for the Women of Inspiration, which I won this year, I looked at all the other women. That one is actually really diverse, not just in terms of, like, of culture and all that, but also in terms of the kind of jobs. A lot of these is all like corporate or people in finance. They're the ones that get the awards. So there's one in Canada, women of, what is it, 100 most powerful women in Canada. And I was looking at and again, I mean, nothing to take away from any of those women, but the 100 women that were nominated, a good half of them were like middle management and banking. They are not the most powerful women in Canada, Thomas.
Mm.
They're like doing good work. But the thing is, the only reason they're on those stages is because their bosses or their friends, they're in those circles that know about those awards. So
Mm.
all those women, they get the same awards. They all nominate each other, and they keep on getting them until they have lists this long of 500 awards. And then half of the extremely, people that I start working with, they never heard of those things, or, women of color doing amazing jobs, or people of, they're not in that mix because they were too busy doing stuff to be, no one told them about it. No one nominated them. So I start nominating them, and now they start getting them. And then we look beyond for, because they're doing amazing work. Just nobody going, look. So I'm that person who goes, look. Right?
You're the champion of that person.
Yeah, I like that word. Someone just literally said that yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's like, I see. At first it's a champion. That sounds like you're praising me. No, but he's like, no, I mean, like, the old term. We said, you're the champion. You're championing a cause. You're championing a whatever, right? Like, so yeah. I
Good
guess that's
answer.
me.
So,
Get a mouthy redhead when you want someone to champion your cause. This is
what
my
would
natural
you
color,
say? What would you say is the biggest difference between PR before and after the internet?
Yeah, there's sort of three stages, I would say, and it's funny that I can only imagine what PR would have been like, 30 years ago. That I understand in those days you had to actually hang out in bars and drink with reporters after work. This was the culture because you had to make friends and then they would trust you and they'd whisper in your ear at the bar. Can't imagine that. I don't even think I'd like that, like, but with the internet, obviously the world, when I started with it, we pretty much, we didn't really have Twitter. And when I talk about, the advocacy work with my original press releases, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook, we had the email, son. So in those days, even, we had the websites and there was, we could look up media just from the very beginning. When we didn't have context, who's writing, I could Google and see who was writing about those articles and reach out because the reporters would be, emails available. And so it was a lot easier than it had been probably 20 years before. But now I think a lawyer that's working on some of the cases that I was doing some advocacy work for pointed out that when even that has changed so much, because now that you have Twitter and Facebook and all those things, it really has opened it up more for anybody to reach out to a reporter, right? To some extent, because most of them are on their Twitter, they have their email address, and some of them are even say, "Hey, send us a story." But so they're a lot more accessible, and so that's the easy. But then the negative for that is for people who don't know how to frame themselves is if they're more easy for you to reach, they're also easy for the other 10,000 people to reach. And so imagine how many inboxes they get and how
Mm.
many pitches they get, and 90% of them, like you don't open 90% of your emails. You just judge before you even open that they're spam or whatever. And you don't, same thing with the reporter. They are not sitting there looking through 10,000 emails to find the story. So it's the key is, that you always, it's all life's a pitch with a P, not a B. You always have to have a really sharp header that literally has all the information that like tell your story in the header because no one's even going to see the rest of it otherwise. And yeah, and just reach out. I mean, like everything's open now. You can find them, and people are, the stories are there to be told in terms of reaching the media. But also, I guess the other part I should address is there's also all these services, things like Medium, for example. Now, Medium looks like a newspaper or it looks like a magazine. If you write for Medium, if you go and write an article, it's just as easy as posting on your Facebook, and it looks like it was like a published piece. So if you don't have any media at all, but how do I develop myself as a thought leader? You have some ideas and you're smart. Well, start writing some articles on Medium, because if they get picked up, you could end up on the front page of Medium with 500,000 viewers too. Number one, but more importantly than that is it looks like a news piece. So if you write a piece on Medium and then share and say this is my piece that I just wrote for Medium, it looks like you wrote an article with an editor that was approved in something like people. It looks like it's Entrepreneur or something like
Mm.
that. So that's a way to start getting yourself out there, and people will reading it and start to take yourself seriously as someone who presents these thoughts. And then sign up for, now you can sign up for things like Podmatch, Matchmaker. Again, it's all about the pitch because these are only avenues in, but you can burn a bridge as easily as you can build it. You can have someone go, who's that idiot? As easily as you can have someone say, they sound like an amazing guest, right? So it's all about the pitch. You have that one opportunity to reach that person and make them think about you. Short, not necessarily short, mine's pretty long, but I mean, a paragraph that not only has your bio, it's not just a list of accomplishments, but some ideas maybe of what a segment with you could look like. Like he can speak on this, he can speak on that, she can speak on this, she can, so there's a whole bunch of opportunities, and it starts with seeing yourself as a speaker and finding those opportunities. And I always say too, if you have to take all this time, you can do a lot of this yourself. That's how I learned to do it, but be cautious, and it's all about the pitch. But if you do have any kind of budget, a marketing budget, for 1 month, I challenge people to just put it aside for a month and hire a publicist for a month. It could be me, I work internationally, or maybe somebody local, doesn't matter. But just start to understand how they frame you, the opportunities they find. After a month, you're literally going to be like amazed, because honestly 90% of entrepreneurs are leaving so much on the table. And after you've paid your publicist, these are free opportunities. Your publicist isn't going to be like, okay, you've paid me, now here I found this, pay for this, pay for that. Once you paid your publicist, we find you opportunities that you can't pay for. Like we get you in, it's earned media. Things, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you don't get a spot on the news. You're only there because you're the expert, you know. So it's huge, 1,000% more valuable than advertising in my estimation,
Well,
because
that
it's
can
that credibility.
presumably lead on to other good things as well. So, although the initial work is done, it continues, or it can continue to do more for you. Would you say
It's
that's
always,
accurate?
yeah, way more than that. Two perfect example in that. Like I had a client, she's still with me now. She was 26 years old, a life coach, zero media, nothing in media, and she thought, well, maybe I can, if I start to tell my personal story about um, success with living with bipolar, people will see that, you know, I have something to say as a life coach. And so she came to me, and I charge her, you know, my bottom lowest price because she's young and all that stuff. And literally the next day, so I start looking for these opportunities. Before I even had a chance to write a press release about her, the next day I see one of those incoming media things that I told you about that on a service. And it literally, Good Housekeeping magazine, iconic American magazine, 150 years old. We're looking for a woman between 25 and 40 who's willing to share her story about bipolar. I'm like, gotta be kidding me. 12 hours ago, one hired me. So I messaged her, I have a great story for you. She's trying to help other people by sharing the story. The reporter not only said, oh yeah, I'm gonna interview her, and did interview her the next day and did put her in the article, but she put her in the oh my gosh, the print issue of Good Housekeeping. So that's literally one of those 5 magazines that's, you know, at the grocery store checkout. It's the
Yeah.
first time in a 10-year career I'm literally seeing, you know, as I'm at the grocery store checkout, I'm not my mental illness ahead or as I'm checking out, going like, oh. So, and she had zero media. Now, do you know how much media she's had a year later? Based on that alone, because now before we had a place where is blah blah blah, we had a little paragraph about her willing to tell her story, and now that little paragraph is headed by, as seen in Good Housekeeping, I am not my mental illness. And that one line alone, now she's got like 50 others because, oh, that credibility of being in Good Housekeeping, talking about it. Now everybody else wants her on their show, on their podcast, on their radio, on WebMD, talking about that. So she's literally now, I don't know how many clients she's got. I never asked her, but because I just focus on the media, getting more media, getting more media, getting more media. And we've got a ton. But, you know, she would have got clients from that. You just like any, they're all little ads. People see you, and then later when you put that on your webpage, and they get to go and listen and hear how you talk about it and blah blah blah. So yeah, one little, you know, another story like that. A client had hired me for like $500 for 2 weeks or something. In one email, I got them it took me 2 minutes to do. I got them a radio interview on Toronto's biggest talk radio station. Her business was something where people would call her for $100 an hour and consult over the phone. If you were to try to buy a 5-minute ad on Toronto's biggest talk radio, it would be insane money, right? She would never been able to afford a 1-minute ad on it. So she was interviewed for 1 hour on Toronto's biggest talk radio on a call-in show with just at leisure talking all about what she does. Remember now, if you buy a 30-second ad on that station, it's thousands of dollars. She's on there for an hour talking. The host loved her. All the callers loved her. This is about 5 years ago. She told me that that week she ended up getting, like, I don't know how many calls, but she got a ton of calls generated from that, because who paid her the $100 an hour, right, for whatever service.
Mm.
And we stopped working together. Funnily enough, I didn't personally. I wasn't really feeling her. Wasn't anything wrong. But it's really important to be simpatico, you know. And I wasn't really feeling simpatico, so I kind of let that contract slide after that year. And 5 years, somebody asked me the other day, what was the name of that client you had? Because it was interesting what she did. That was, I said, hold on, let me remember. And I went to find her, and I looked up and do you know what? She still does guest appearances on that radio station. 5 years ago, she paid me $500. I sent one email. I got her that one guest spot. Got her 1 hour on air, which is hugely expensive for 30 seconds. She killed it. The host loved her, and they've had her back like 5 times over the last few years. She paid a publicist $500. So how much money has she made from all those? So that's just one example. You know, other times you might do, you know, a story runs and you don't see any direct result from it, but you put it on your page and it's got that credibility. You know, so yeah, so that's what it's all about. It's just about, again, the little phrase I thought of the other day, because I have been saying elevating people, but then I'm like, no, it's really about elevating and celebrating. It really is. So that's my little line now, but just came in my head. It's true. That's what I do. the job. It's a pretty nice way to make a living.
It is when you can get results like that. So how would you measure the effectiveness of PR? So if someone's considering hiring someone, what should they look for in order to determine good from bad?
If it's been successful, or how would they choose a good publicist?
So I'll give you an example. With my marketing activity, and you've alluded to it, I would almost always look at the return on the investment. So how much you spent and then how much you've got in return. What's the analogy for PR in that example?
So the goals at the outset, I guess, would be like, because the goals at the outset would be like, what do you want to get out of this? Because my goal as a publicist is to get you into media, to get you some media attention and all that, right? So your goal why do you want to do that? That may be because you want to get more. There's different reasons that you may want media, right? It may be because you're looking to get more clients, in which case I'd say that's a secondary role of PR, because PR is not marketing, it's not sales, right? Those things are about getting clients. Marketing and sales are exclusively about getting more clients. PR is about building you as an expert, your thought leadership, and as a result of that, obviously you get more clients, right? So basically, a successful campaign, did we reach the goals? You came to me to get media attention. Did you get some good media attention? You see what I'm saying? So, and then what do we do with that media attention, and how is the second part of the strategy? What's your other goal? Like, so some people, they want that media attention because they want more customers, right? That's not always the case. Some people want that media attention because they want speaking engagements. They want to start doing speaking, and they haven't been doing that. They've been doing just their job, and now they want to segue that into being an expert about their job instead of doing their job or speaking engagement. So in that case, clearly but it's still always harder to quantify than with marketing. There's not a numbers. It's for the same reason that I can't charge a percentage. You know what I mean? When people, I say, hey, I charge this much a month, they're like, well, can I pay you a percentage of what you get me instead? Like, no, you can't give me a percentage of your media appearance. You don't get paid to be on the media. Like, you don't get paid to be on the news. That's, you see what I'm saying? So it's a little bit less quantifiable than marketing, but the way you would see was it successful is, did we reach those goals? Did you come out of it after the month? Do you have the 5 media appearances that we needed to pivot you to the next thing, which is, hopefully, if it's real estate, are you going to be able to get more clients? It may not have been, so because we may need to do more work. You see what I'm saying? There may be something, you get the media, and then there's the getting the clients. But getting the media, like having the media cover you, might not directly result in the clients. We may need to do, so now we take that media and we put that on your page. We talk about that. We reframe your bio. We talk in your bio about how you're an internationally quoted expert. So all those things, it's obvious to the mind that is going to elevate you above your competitor, right?
Mm.
If you are making a buying decision between me as a publicist and somebody sitting beside me who, when you Google both our names, you see me internationally quoted, you see me be called this and that and blah, 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 built her mogul, media mogul, and you see James saying, yeah, I can write a press release. Who are you going to come to? Unless you're just looking for bargain basement, no name, somebody you could, so it's just obvious that this elevates, it's not marketing, it's a cousin to, and it basically turbocharges your marketing. So if you have a marketing department, and I work with that marketing department, it's like I'm putting a fire under the marketing. I'm afraid, you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm making it way bigger, better. I'm celebritizing it. I'm like getting people excited about it. So how that translates into the hard cash is, there's more work than to get, there's getting it, and then there's what we do with it and how we frame it. And it's like, that's the platform now for you to like keep on doing whatever you're doing in your business. Now they're looking at you, so do your thing. Make sure your business is good. Make sure your marketing, your sale, your product is good. Because now I get the world looking at you. Now you sell it. That's your job, your marketing job. See what I'm saying? That's your marketing department. So basically give, just the best way I can explain it is turbocharging your marketing, is giving you that, you have a marketing department and I'm going psh, like I'm making it like your marketing department was a room and now it's a rocket ship. If that's a good way to put it, you know.
Well, you alluded to something, which is knowing what you want to achieve.
Hey, look at this person, he's been featured internationally, and it happens very quickly. Like my real estate client in Ottawa, he only had a couple little things, and then I got him one, now a major feature coming out, and one or two, you know, international podcasts, and now we can say internationally quoted. Now that we can say internationally quoted, we, you know, go reach out for other things locally. And now, so just really quickly can mushroom. And it all it just takes is going, me, you know, I know. And of course, they've got to be good. It's not magic. Like if I mean, they got to hire me. I got to do my due diligence and make sure when they hire me, before I take their money, that's somebody who's media friendly. That's somebody, you know, when he gets in front of media, he's not going to freeze up and not know what he's talking about. He's going to wow them, or she's going to wow them to get the next one, you know. So it's a partnership. They have to be good. They have to know what they're doing. They have to, it's not like you hire a publicist and then woo-hoo, you know. So but as long as I only allow people to hire me who obviously I can tell they're good to go, they're media friendly, I can frame them, they're good, you know, they are experts. There you go. But they don't have to be thinking of themselves as experts. I mean, they just have to be, you know, the expert. And as long as they're articulate and ready to speak about it, and you know, a lot of times part of my work is framing, getting people used to the idea that no, you should be speaking out about this. People you see on TV aren't any better than you. Like they may not be as good as you. They just were smart enough to hire a publicist.
I was going to say that it may be the case that they know less than you do.
Yeah, exactly. And quite often I've heard people say, well, gee, why are they interviewing that guy up there? You know, they never interviewed me or my friends. So you thought of the same thing, you know, when you see someone go, well, how do they get those people? Those people are, you know, just like the awards. They're choosing from the pool of people in front of them. Be in front of them. Be one of those. Right? So,
So this is more of a fun one. What is the biggest PR disaster you've ever seen?
what, like in the world?
It doesn't qualify, so I guess you
It
could
doesn't
choose
have to be
anything you
myself.
want.
I haven't had one. Actually, I've seen. I've never had one, but I've observed. Okay, so the world, maybe the last 4 years of America, I don't know, but the last season of America that we're watching has been kind of crazy. But other than that, I've seen, you know, on a less funny note, I've seen, and I don't want to say who or what or whatever, but I've seen people who had, or a person who had incredible promise and was doing everything right, you know, and then based on, and then this is a learning lesson too, because, and based on, you know, people can get emotional and you can really pull the rug out from under yourself and ruin everything that you've created over a long time. So, you know, check yourself, basically. You know, you can like, I've seen people, I've seen a person who had had so much promise and had done so many amazing things, literally destroy themselves in public, in real time, on the interwebs, status by status, for everybody to see, just out of like rage and being mad at somebody and or jealousy, or you know, don't do that. Step away from the computer, because you're only damaging yourself. You think I'm gonna ruin this person's reputation. I'm gonna no. 90% of the people, when they see people doing that, they're questioning you, not the person whose reputation you're trying to ruin. So, you know, cautionary tale. I've seen someone this year go from, you know, just an incredible person, full of promise, and maybe able to make it a difference on an international stage, to just literally falling apart in a very public way out of anger and rage. And be very careful when you have developed a public, you know, you get to the point where you have some kind of a public eye, like somebody's people are looking at you. You got to be really careful, because I don't see how this one person can go back from what they've done to themselves, just literally out of anger, that
The
hasn't hurt anybody
internet's
else over the
not a
last
very
3 months.
forgiving place, is it? The internet.
No, and you can destroy, I mean, and you can destroy yourself by trying to destroy someone else. So don't try to destroy someone else. Just move on. If someone has wronged you, or you feel, you know, just process it, and you know, because honestly, the way when you're in a mental madness or things are going crazy and you're upset about things, you're not seeing things the way other people are seeing them. So you have to present yourself well. So you have to always take a step and be calm and be kind. And, don't try to always, if someone hurt you, it doesn't mean you have to hurt them back 10 times more. You can just, take a deep breath, and sometimes you will hurt yourself less if you don't respond in those ways. So yeah, cautionary tale. It's just as easy to destroy yourself publicly as it is to build yourself up
Mm.
publicly. And sometimes it's hard to or impossible to get back from that because, yeah.
So if there was a company that was watching this, or an individual at a company, and they wanted to get started with PR, what would the first step be?
Probably call Lamourie Media. No, yeah, they could, if they are interested in talking to me, I'm happy to do a consult. Anywhere in the world, I do media anywhere that's the English language. But beyond that, yeah, if they just need to really start thinking editorial versus advertorial. And if they understand what I'm saying here, and if all this has made sense, they've been nodding, you can really just start putting together your own pitch and your little, couple of examples of what kind of a segment with you might look at, like what you could talk about, and just really be concise with that pitch. Or call a publicist warning, and most PR houses charge like $3,000 a month, 3 months minimum, to even start. I keep it a lot more affordable because again, I'm an idiot activist advocate that came from not trying to make $1 billion, but actually cares about getting messaging out. So I'm a sucker for people that have a really good message or a good book or a idea or something, but don't have $3,000 a month, 3 months minimum. I absolutely make it affordable. Under $1,000 a month, you can start with me for projects that, and I know right off the top, I don't take anybody on unless I know I can get you results. We talk right at the very beginning about the kind of results you can expect and your goals and all that kind of stuff. And try it for a month. I always say if it's new to most, 90% of entrepreneurs haven't thought about it. So it's like, they think about their advertising. Just try it for a month. All of my business is repeat business. All of my business is referrals. People are shocked, stunned, and amazed when they see that nice big article profiling them, meet the leader in whatever or getting interviewed. It's nice. It works. You see the feedback when all your clients will start sharing it. Oh, look, this is my whoever. They share that, they talk to them, they get excited about it. So if you don't have that, you will love it when you do. So try it for a month and, just open your eyes to the possibilities. So yeah, I'd love to hear from any of your listeners if they want to try me for a month. Other than that, if they want to call a PR house, but don't be, um, surprised at the sticker price because PR is not cheap. And when you think about it, that's because we literally, like my business consultant says, I don't know why you work so cheap. She says to me, she doesn't work for less than $250 an hour and she just does taxes. She goes, you get people in Good Housekeeping magazine. You like literally build their careers. One thing you do, and they're living off that, eating on it for, but still, when it comes down to the most, I still care about the messaging and about opening people's eyes out up to, it's empowering. And I learned very young that if you use your voice, magic happens. Everything I've done in my life has been successful, from advocacy to everything, because I've just not been afraid to speak out. And so that's the lesson I bring to my business, to entrepreneurs, to everybody. Like, you have a message, you have a value. Don't be afraid to speak out. Magic will happen when you do. Talk about who you are, what you do, what your brand is. Find your place in the world. And then I hope when you've elevated yourself to that, success level, that you'll do, good things with it. I hope. I don't want to be giving anybody a platform that, I guess, that doesn't use. Like I said, I stopped working with 2 clients in this year in 2020 because I didn't like the way they were using their Facebook in light of all the BLM and all the nasty things going on in America and all that. And I don't like racism at all. I'm a longtime anti-racist. And there was a couple of things that were questionable. So I was like, if people can't use the platforms that they already have to put good in the world, I'm not going to be giving them a microphone and a platform and elevating them so their audience is, 10 million people instead of 50. So, ethical, genuine, do good in the world, and, good things will happen.
Well, lastly, can you tell me the best place that people can find you?
Yep, LamourieMedia.com is the website. Tracy Lamourie PR Media is my Instagram, and Tracy Lamourie on Facebook.
Well, thank you very much for your time. You've been a great guest, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.